Okay, thank you. And thank you everybody for being with us this evening. I'm Jeffrey Wagner. I'm the head of reference and branch liaison at the Hazleton Area Public Library. Tonight we welcome Amanda Fontenova from the Luzerne County Historical Society. She is the director of library and archives and has over 10 years of experience assisting researchers with historical and genealogical research within their collection. Previously, she's worked for the Eckley Miners Village, just outside of Hazleton, near Freeland, and the Anthracite Heritage Museum in Scranton. She's also worked for the Museum Support Center, for the Smithsonian's National Museum of Natural History in Sweetland, Maryland. Before I pass the reins over to Amanda, I just want to let everybody know about a couple things going on here at the library in Hazleton. So for anyone who's local to the greater Hazleton area, we have a lot of exciting things coming up over the course of the next month. Next week is National Library Week, and we are very excited by the fact that we are reopening our reading room at the main library in downtown Hazleton. As a way of celebrating this, first off, we're going to be having a game of bingo that adult patrons can come and participate in. You'll just come up to the front desk at the library, ask for a bingo sheet. You're going to fill out the bingo like you're going to play a standard game of bingo. Once you do that, you're going to hand it back to the front desk, and then we'll be giving you guys a pair of new earbuds. Another way we're celebrating reopening the reading room is we're going to be having refreshments and snacks that Friday, the 8th of April. And then for the rest of the month of April, a couple other exciting things we have going on is we're restarting our adult craft programs. We're going to be doing handmade note cards and envelopes on the 21st of April. That's a Thursday evening at 6 p.m. We're going to be doing Tech Time. I host that usually every month, and that's a one-on-one meeting with anyone really who has any questions about their personal devices, cell phones, tablets, laptops. I sit down with you and ask you to bring your personal devices and your questions, and I help you figure out what your problems are, help you solve any kind of issues you might be having with those devices. And lastly, we have an Alzheimer's awareness program. A local community educator from Luzerne County is coming to the library at the end of the month on the 30th. She's going to be doing the same presentation twice that day at 10 a.m. and then at 2 p.m. And we'll be promoting all of these programs in our newspaper column, on our Facebook page, and on our website. So if you have any questions, please feel free to ask me at the end of the program. And for that matter, any questions at all for Amanda or myself, if you guys could hold off till the end of the program, that'd be appreciated. So I think that's all I have to say. I'm going to pass things over to Amanda. And Amanda, there you go.
All right. Well, thank you so much. Good evening, everyone. Thank you so much for coming, joining us here. I don't know where you might be at, but it's pouring rain here. So I'm sure everyone is glad to be able to view this from their living rooms or wherever else they might be comfortable at. Thank you, Jeff, and thank you to the Hazleton Public Library for inviting me to speak tonight about doing genealogy at the Luzerne County Historical Society. Now, I have some slides that I will be sharing to illustrate what I'll be talking about, some images from our collections. And that's also nice because obviously the lighting here is terrible. So this will be much better to view. Let me just start that up. Here we go. There we are. Okay, so genealogy at the Historical Society. Now, obviously, I will be focusing on materials from our collection, but some of this information could also carry over to other historical societies or historical libraries or archives of any kind that you might be going to. Don't forget, at the end, I will answer some questions, so you can type those into the chat at any time. Those will come to us, the hosts, to be able to answer at the end. And just in case anyone knows of someone who wasn't able to make it tonight for this, or if you'd like to rewatch it at some point in time, we are recording This will appear on our Society YouTube channel to be viewed at any time, and we also will be giving a copy to the Hazleton Public Library. So you guys can link it on your website, or do what you wish with it as well. So there's that. So starting off, doing genealogy. Most people nowadays, starting your genealogy, you go online, see what you can find there. It is wonderful. The amount of information that can be found online nowadays, not only through the larger websites of ancestry.com or newspapers.com, but also the genealogy message boards and Facebook groups, or websites like the Library of Congress. And of course, have to give a shout out to our public libraries as well. They also have resources and links on their websites for genealogical research, such as Heritage Quest Online, that only requires your library card to be able to access. But not everything is online yet. There are treasure troves of records and information housed at historical societies and small libraries and museums all over that are unknown and undigitized as of yet. And simply because smaller organizations don't have the sheer manpower and resources available to be able to get everything done right away. A lot of these organizations are volunteer run, they have small budgets, they're splitting their time between taking care of the upkeep of their buildings and collections, or giving tours and events, things like that. But a positive spin on this is that if you're researching at a historical society or library, you're going to be able to see these records and information in their original settings. Not only one clipping at a time, but like a whole page from a newspaper. So this is going to give you a better overview of knowing and finding out how and why your ancestors ended up where and why they did. A prime example of this is if you're researching ancestors from this area, from the 1700s, trying to find out where they came from, say you're looking for land records. Well, knowing a little bit about the local history will help you by knowing where you have to look for those deeds at. Now, Luzerne County was formed in 1786, but if you're looking for a time period before that, you might be looking at Pennsylvania records from Northumberland or Northampton counties, Pennsylvania. Or you might be looking for Connecticut records. That's right, in the mid to late 1700s, this area was disputed. There were overlapping land claims by both Connecticut and Pennsylvania for this area. So you might also be looking for something like records from Westmoreland County, Connecticut. We do have resources that can help out with this. There was a land company for the Connecticut colony called the Susquehanna Company. There are a couple volumes, different sets of volumes that compiled the information from this company, the records that still exist. So the Susquehanna Company papers covering the year 1750 to 1808, that was published by our historical society. That has a lot of correspondence between the colony here in Westmoreland and the Connecticut government back in what is today Connecticut still. You can search by name. There are name indexes in these books. Each one covers a range of years. There's also a set of books called Connecticut's Pennsylvania Colony, 1754 to 1810. This gives more detail about the actual land records. This also indexed by name. You can find out a little bit more about which record books or records the deeds were published in, which record books still survive and where they're located at, because a lot of this information is spread between different organizations. We have some records here. Some are at the Connecticut State Historical Society. Some are at the Pennsylvania Archives in Harrisburg. Some are at the Pennsylvania Historical Society in Philadelphia. Some simply do not exist anymore. They have been lost to time. So it's best, if you're looking for these records, start with the published volumes first to be able to search easily by name, because then you can get into the real nitty-gritty of the original documents or the copies of the original documents. Another aspect of knowing the local history that helps when searching for records is sometimes knowing why certain records might not exist if you're having trouble finding them. Sometimes that lack of early records may be because there were, battles or wars going on. In our area, we had Yankee Pennamite wars, battles between those Connecticut colonists and the Pennsylvania colonists. We also had the Battle of Wyoming, which was during the American Revolution. A lot of property, a lot of this area was destroyed at that time. Then, of course, you might have things like fires, floods. This area has known a lot of floods, so there are different reasons that certain records may not exist, and it can be helpful to kind of know these things going in. So you're not just thinking, oh no, these records were never kept. Well, they might have been. Another great source for getting an overview of the time period when researching ancestors are newspapers. Our newspaper holdings are digitized. We have over 40 local newspapers, titles from different communities. The nice thing with them being digitized is you can search by name, you can filter by date and location, and it's not only searching for obituaries. There's a lot of different types of materials, ads, articles about social events, anything that you might find relating to your ancestors. Even if you think, my family wasn't really well known, they weren't rich, they weren't popular, but you don't know what might show up in the newspapers from that time. Who knows? Maybe an ancestor got hit by a streetcar or a jitney. That might end up in the newspaper. Maybe they attended a shower, a bridal shower, or some type of dinner or outing or party for an organization. That might show up in the paper. So that's really helpful. Other resources that we have here for genealogists, well, we have our family surname files. We try to collect information on different families and individuals. If we are doing research, there might be copies of the results of our research requests in these files. People will donate copies of certificates or family photos or different things like that. We'll gather it together into the folders here to make it a little easier for searchers. But I always tell people, if there might be possible alternate spellings or misspellings of a name, definitely check to see if there might be multiple files. That does happen a lot. It's very common getting those misspellings of a name. Sometimes that can also affect other information. Dates might be a little wrong. When you think about it, nowadays we have computers keeping our records. We have so many IDs and certificates and paperwork to keep all the time. But if you're searching back in the early 1900s or before, a lot of this information was given or passed on word of mouth. Like census records, you were just taking this information from people. You didn't have necessarily another way of of checking it, there can be a lot of human error that can occur in these records, even the newspapers. Maybe you had an ancestor who was unable to read or write. They may not have been able to check over a form or paper to see if things were spelled right or recorded correctly. Births occurred in the home. They may have only been recorded in a family Bible and then, passed on word of mouth if something happened to that Bible. So if you're researching, it can sometimes be frustrating. It can be difficult, but keep an open mind. Keep an eye out for those possible alternate spellings. If you see something that everything is correct except maybe a name is spelled differently, or maybe there's one date wrong, it may have just been simple human error for that. Other resources that we have here, in no particular order, local histories. You'd be surprised how much biographical or genealogical information is contained in these. Some of the earlier county histories we have, some of the bigger ones, they were done by subscription. They were published by subscription. So anyone who gave money to get this book published and get a copy of it, they were able to put biographical information about themselves and a little bit of information about their families into these books. I mean, even if it wasn't one done by subscription, local histories will often contain a lot of information about early families, first settlers, also about placement of early cemeteries, schools, churches, businesses, and industries. Some of these books will have indexes that you can search by name. Some don't, but maybe they have a table of contents. So at least you can find either by time period or by category, what you're looking for. When it comes to finding out locations, addresses about family members or other things like cemeteries, churches, schools, and whatnot, city directories and phone books. Ours start as early as 1871. These directories also would list the occupation. You could find out a little bit more about what someone did. You can see where the ancestor lived. You could see what churches were close to them, what businesses. You can use this information then in conjunction with maps, to be able to find out more about where people were at. We have some maps that list people's property. This map here that is displayed now, this is an atlas. It's an 1873 atlas of Luzerne County. So each township is shown. There are a lot of names on that map to show where different individuals and families live. So it could be a map like this showing where people were at. It could be something like a deed map or a property survey. There's different types that are available here in the collection. If they're for a specific person, property-wise, it could be indexed under their name. Otherwise, they're indexed by location or place. Maps are also really helpful for checking the history of boundaries, county boundaries, township boundaries, anything like that. This map here is from the same atlas, 1873, and you'll notice Luzerne County looks a little funny, looks a little different from how we know it today. Well, at that time, up until 1878, Lackawanna County was still part of Luzerne County. So that also can be very helpful, knowing where you're looking for particular records at, especially if you're looking for something like county records, knowing what county things were in at that time. If you're trying to find out a little bit more about the mining industry around here, that was very, very prevalent. We do have different records and record books that can be helpful with that. The reports of the Department of Mines, sometimes known as Inspector of Mine reports. They were wonderful sources of information, roughly between the period of 1870 to 1920. They would list the names of miners who were killed or injured on the job. It would list what colony they worked at. It would list the cause of the accident. But you could also find out, what coal companies were in each district. If you know you had an ancestor who was a miner, but you don't know where they worked exactly, you can find out. If you know about where they lived, you can find out the district. You could find out names of the coal companies, the collieries that were there. The collieries and the breakers, those were just the locations where the coal was processed. They usually were near the mines, but not necessarily the same as the actual mine. These books also contain information about mine and colliery improvements, and they even have information about miners who were taking exams to get more skill. If a miner had more skill, if they were a skilled miner, they could get more money. So you might have an ancestor who was a laborer who wanted to take an exam to become a more skilled miner. Or maybe a miner wanted to become a foreman. There's information about that in here. Sometimes that information was also listed in the newspapers. If you want to know a little bit more about what might have been involved in those exams or what miners had to learn to do their jobs, we actually have resources for that too. We have various textbooks of mine exams and all sorts of technical knowledge of what it took to work in the mines at that time. And although some of these books have been rebound, they look a little newer. I mean, some of them go back into the 1920s, back into the late like 1890s. So there's just all sorts of knowledge and information spanning time. Yearbooks are a very popular resource here. Currently, we have over 20 different schools cataloged in the collection, multiple dates from each of those schools. In general, we have late 1800s up to early 2000s. But recently, we just got a couple large donations of yearbooks. So soon that collection is going to be expanding on the shelves here, and we will have even more schools and more years. I know we get a lot of requests for yearbooks, and people want to be able to find an image maybe of a parent or a grandparent or someone who was in one of these schools. So that is a very, very popular resource here. We do have county records as well. We have county records on microfilm, birth and death records, marriage records, grantor grantee, index to deeds, orphans court records, which are like probate records. There's information if perhaps a child needed a guardian assigned within the family, but there's also if someone died intestate, if they did not have a will that could be searched for, you might want to check the orphans court records just to see. These records are also available from the courthouse. In some cases, such as the marriage records and the deeds, the courthouse and the orphans court, the courthouse does have more holdings than what we have, obviously, but it's nice to be able to have these if you're going to be coming here to research other resources as well. We do have census records on microfilm also, except for the 1890 census that was lost to fire for not only Luzerne County, but many, many states lost that census. The census records on microfilm can't be searched by name because it's microfilm. It doesn't have that ability. But I know that many of these census records are online nowadays. Actually, the Library of Congress is a good source to search census records if you don't have a subscription or want to get a subscription to another type of genealogical website. And don't forget, exciting news, the 1950 census is being released, I believe, this upcoming month. I think in April it will be released. So the Library of Congress will have that available. Other things we have here: postcard, photograph collection, scrapbooks. When we get these materials donated to us, if they are already identified, then we can index them as such. So whether it's names of people who are in the photos, or whether it's a name of an organization or an event, we can index it as such so that people can search our collection. But if you're hoping to find a picture of an ancestor, if you come here, if you don't find the surname, you could try searching by the location name, the community they lived in. There might be street scenes that show a house. You don't know what sort of things you might find within these collections. So they are a wonderful and fascinating resource as well. Other things we have range from diplomas, commencement exercises, or course catalogs for different schools. There are programs from all sorts of different social events, things like concerts, dinners, fraternal organizations having events. We have things like collections of correspondence from different individuals, businessmen, or company owners, meeting minutes from organizations or businesses. So if you had an ancestor who was involved in the business community somehow, who knows? There could be a correspondence collection of another local businessman for the same time period. Maybe they mention this individual, maybe they corresponded with them. We also do have some material from the local Chamber of Commerce on different businesses. Chamber of Commerce journals that were published in the early 1900s. They contain a lot of great information about individuals and businesses, sometimes images as well, trying to find a picture of a ancestor's early business or mill or anything like that. You could try the Chamber of Commerce journals. We did have a lot of other businesses here as well, not just the coal mining industry, but there were so many mills and factories and warehouses. So there's quite a lot of information there. But if you were coming to the society, just as an example, coming to look for information here, say you start out with our family surname files, searching for a great-grandfather. Well, maybe in that file you find noted down his date of death, or even a copy of the obituary that you don't have. Maybe that obituary mentions a social organization or a fraternal organization that he was involved in. Well, you can also include the name of that organization in your search through our resources. Maybe we have programs or photographs from that organization. Programs from the dinners or events, maybe he's listed in there. Maybe he received a special honor one year. Maybe there were group photos of the individuals from this organization. You could see, your great-grandfather as part of this organization in their uniform, or what have you. So there's a lot of different ways that can go. There's a lot of different avenues and aspects of how to research and what to research when looking at information from a historical society. And yes, there is a difference between historical societies and genealogical societies. We do focus more on the history, the events, the organizations. Yes, that includes the people, but if people are looking to donate things here, we may not always be able to take strictly genealogical collections or what have you. We do want something that will help us get an overview of the history of our county as well. So honestly, I could probably continue talking all night about the different resources that we have here. But I'm hoping that this sampling will give you a good idea of what we have here, what can be found, and maybe interest you to contact us or make a visit to our library. I can be contacted at any time by email or by phone. You can always send me an email with any questions you might have. If I'm not in the library that day, please do leave a message. I do return the messages. And if you're looking to come to our historical society at some point, just know that right now we are open by appointment only, but you can email or call me to make an appointment. More information about visiting our library is on our website. You can check that out at any time. And you can also find volunteer forms on our website. We do love our volunteers. If you have a special particular interest or just a general interest, you can always fill out one of those forms and send it in to us. And if we have openings, we'd be happy to contact you then. We can let you know. One last thing I will say about researching at a historical society before I turn it over to looking at some questions is, with a historical society, keep in mind that the materials that you may be working with when you visit are original, may be fragile. So it's just something to keep in mind when you're researching at a historical society, knowing that these might be irreplaceable, handling them carefully, and of course, no food or drink. And you will make good friends with any historical society librarian or archivist by remembering this. So I think I will ask either Jeff or Mark, perhaps if we have some questions they would like me to address, I can certainly do that now.
Oh, we've got a lot of questions rolling in, Amanda. We'll start with one from Sarah. This is a pretty good one. If researchers are looking for records that are pre-1786, would they go to Northumberland County or Northampton County?
Okay. Well, let me see here. Hold on 1 minute, because you know what? I can pull up that slide again that had the dates on it. Because, find my mouse.
And I can answer that. We have a couple of people that came in late. This will be available on YouTube, so don't fret if you came in a little bit late or if you dropped or whatever. I'll probably have this edited. I don't know if it'll be up tomorrow, but definitely by Saturday or Monday, it'll definitely be on our YouTube channel. And we'll be sending Jeff a copy as well for the library. So if you missed any of it today, don't fret.
Yeah. But to get back to that question, Northampton County was formed in 1752. Northumberland County was formed in 1772. And then Luzerne was formed in 1786. So it depends on how the state was being divided up at the different times. So when you're looking for records from these time periods, if you're looking especially for something like a land record, definitely start at the county courthouse maybe of these different counties to look for those records, to find out where they're located at. Sometimes different county websites will have information on them for genealogists to let them know what records are available and what they can access without needing to, only be able to get like a certified copy of something. But everyone's a little different. So it depends on when the county was formed. At this time in our county, it depends on, a little bit of that Pennsylvania versus Connecticut, where those folks were coming from when they settled here. But yeah, right before Luzerne County was formed, it was Northumberland. And then back past 1772, it was Northampton.
Okay, this is another one we got from a few people. Are any of our newspapers in our collection not on newspapers.com? Are there any that you have to come in person to view?
Yes, there is one holding, or one group, I should say. It's the Wyoming Observer, and it was a small newspaper that started being published during the 1972 flood here in Wilkes-Barre. We have copies of the Wyoming Observer during that time of the flood. I'm pretty sure they only published during 1972. I don't even know if they run into 1973, but those I don't think have been digitized anywhere, or at least I haven't found them digitized anywhere yet. So perhaps at some point in the future, I would love to see those get digitized. That is something that's kind of on my project list. But other than that, the newspapers that we have been digitized.
Okay, and I'm going through these. A lot of these we covered. Oh, this is a good one from Lena. Are you open to people from outside of Luzerne County in order to visit? I'm planning a trip from out of state at the end of April to do family research. What would you recommend to prepare for the trip?
Okay. Yes, we gladly welcome people from all over to come and research at our library. We've even had people from around the world come here to do research. I did mention briefly earlier, currently we're open by appointment, so please give us a call or an email first, just to make sure that the day that you would like to come, that we will be open, that someone will be here at the library to be able to help you. We do have regular hours every week that we are open to appointments, so just give us a call, find out what we've got available. To prepare for a trip, I would say just bring, if you have notes that you need to know to be able to look up information, definitely bring your notes or have a way to access them. We do have guest Wi-Fi if you want to bring a laptop or a tablet to be able to access things online, if that's how you keep your information. You can certainly do that. I would recommend bringing some cash. We don't have a parking lot of our own, so being down here in the downtown, parking is available either at different public garages or lots around the city. Most of them, if not all of them, do have some sort of fee for parking, whether hourly or I'm not sure if any of them actually go by the day. I think they're pretty much all hourly. There are meters on the street as well, although I would think if you're going to be here researching, it probably would be difficult to continuously go out and feed the meters. But then we also have a small admission fee, and if you would like photocopies made while you're here, there's a small fee for that. We do allow non-flash photography of most of our collections, so you can bring a small camera or phone, although we don't allow personal scanners or like tripods, setups, things like that. So those are some things that you can bring or need to know. If you're planning on coming to be here for a while, I did mention no food or drink allowed in the library. We really have to take care of our rare resources here, but there are a lot of really wonderful local restaurants and cafes around the downtown here. So you can pop out for a bite to eat or a drink if you want. And when you come back in, we're not going to charge you again or anything like that. So that's good information to know.
Okay. Ellen asks, would I be able to access tax records from the turn of the 1900s?
Good question. We don't have complete collections of tax records here. We have some odds and ends that have been donated to us here and there. If that's something that you would want to email me about, I can certainly provide you with more detailed years and locations that we have tax records for. But other resources for tax records, if it's something that we don't have here, either contact the county courthouse, or there are tax records, copies of tax records kept on microfilm at the state archives as well. And I think the state archives has them going back further than the courthouse currently does. Like, especially if you're looking like 1800s, early 1900s, the state archives definitely has copies of those.
Okay, looking through here, I think we answered most of these. So I think this is a good one to end on. This one kind of tickled me a little bit. Bonnie says, the last time she was in, Amanda, you were expecting, how is your baby doing?
Oh, thank you. Yes, indeed. Oh my, she is going to be 7 next month. So yeah, time flies, doesn't it?
Yeah, that popped me a little bit too. But I believe that is it for questions. Thank you everyone who submitted questions. And of course, if you have any that you forget, just, reach out to us via email and Amanda will get you set up. But I'm going to turn it back over to you and Jeff now.
Okay, everybody, thank you again for being here tonight. Whether it's virtual or in person, it's exciting to be able to host a successful program. I want to thank Amanda and Mark for agreeing to do this tonight. I know the Luzerne County Historical Society is a wonderful resource, so please reach out to them with any and all questions that you might have. They just have so many wonderful resources. I mean, it's fantastic.
More that can be mentioned in one program.
Yeah, I mean, we do have some resources here for genealogy and local history as well. Some of the big ones at the library are, again, the yearbooks. I get a lot of joy looking for pictures of individuals through the yearbooks if they're looking for a grandfather, grandmother, parent, coworkers for birthday parties, from when they were in high school. We do have local newspapers on microfilm here at the library. We have the Plain Speaker, the Standard Sentinel, the Hazleton Standard Speaker. There are some gaps in our newspaper collection on microfilm. But again, if you have anything that you'd like to come see, please reach out to me. You can give us a call at the library, or I could certainly share my email in the chat. But again, thank you all, and thank you, Amanda and Mark.
You're welcome, and thank you too. Thank you, everyone. If you have additional questions specific about different resources or family members, just feel free to email me or call me so I can give you more details.
All right. Well, good night, everybody.